Evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Board of Education meeting. Please stand and join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to
I'd like to observe a moment of silence for the following individuals. Linda Smith, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Simon Morley, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District and student of Mr. Crabtree's. Ian Townsend, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Angela Martin, a retiree of the North Syracuse Central School District. Tammy Richer, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. John Keefe Jr., a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Michael Maloney, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. And Robert Rogolski, a graduate of the North Syracuse Central School District. Thank you.
All right, I will. Is it appropriate for me to wear this
Of
the entire
course.
time?
Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, keep digging. Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I know, I get the picture, right? All right, thank you.
All right. Well, keeping on that, I just want to welcome you, Dr. Ward, to the North Syracuse Central School District. I know we're all very happy to have you here. We know you're. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to presentations for this evening. The first one we have is student recognition for the spelling bee. Jamie, if you could just come up and briefly talk about this.
Good evening. So on December 10th, we were fortunate enough to hold our district spelling bee. We had 32 students overall from Rocks Middle, Gillette Road Middle, and from the junior high. What takes place first is there's a building level spelling bee competition, and then the students come to the district level competition, and then those students who qualify, then they go to the regional competition in March. So we are very fortunate. We had 3 students who placed in our top 3, all from Gillette Road Middle School, and I believe we have 1 here this evening. So if you'd like to come on up, and we can hand out some certificates to our competitors.
Benjamin. So on behalf of the North Syracuse Central School District, I'd like to honor you with this certificate of recognition. As a 5th grade student at Gillette Road Middle School, Benjamin competed against 28 other 5th through 9th grade students and earned 2nd place honors after 16 rounds of intense competition. So congratulations, Benjamin. Yeah, I'm right.
Okay, next I'd like to invite Matt and Joel up to give us a status on the Cicero Elementary playground.
Good evening, everyone. With me is Joel Maury. Joel is a PTG representative from both Cicero and Gillette. He happens to be on our playground committee. Would you go to the beginning of the slideshow, please, Jill? So coming soon for your enjoyment, thanks to the generous donations from the PTG to get us kicked off on this project, is a new playground at Cicero. So we're going to walk through it a little bit, and then I'm going to let Joel talk a little bit about the fundraising effort that they did. Next slide, please. So we really appreciate the work that Joel and his team did, and our school board for their commitment and support as we strive to provide safe, accessible spaces for students to learn and grow. Next slide. And this is a view of what was designed for Cicero Elementary. We have both a primary and a elementary age-appropriate playground area. We have accessibility on both for ADA, so that we can get everybody inclusively onto the playground. All right. Next slide, please. Just another view, and next slide. And siting. All right, so we're relocating the playgrounds into the track area adjacent to the building. This does a couple of things for us. It provides us some flexibility as we look at renovations to the facility, and potentially for expanded parking or other hard surface play areas closer to the parking lots. Okay, and next. All right, so we've been at this for a while now. Since 2019, we started with minor upgrades at Allen Road Elementary. We actually snuck in Main Street, which is not on this list. We did a new playground at Main Street. We've done Bear Road. We've done Smith Road. Cicero will be our next, and Lakeshore will soon follow behind it. That's prepped and ready as part of the renovations at Lakeshore. And Roxborough Road is in planning now. So we're working through all of them. All of these are age appropriate. They provide for a variety of movement, and they're accessible and inclusive. And the vast majority of these playgrounds have been designed cooperatively, both with the PTGs and with the building staff, to make sure that they meet all of the building's needs. And Joel, if you would talk a little bit about the work you guys did.
Hi, thanks for having me. We've been fundraising for the past few years. I'm actually offering the committee I know we're hoping to get this done sooner, as you know, plans for different schools come and go. So we appreciate that you guys are allowing us to do this build before Cicero Elementary, because I know the school and community have been really waiting for this, because playground's degraded, and I know not only the kids that go there, but everyone around that area goes there all year, all summer. So everyone's really looking forward to it. Had input from all the special teachers, gym teachers, all teachers went into this planning of this entire thing. This is just the first donation. I have another fundraiser coming up in one that I generally get between about 10 and 15,000. So I'll have another donation I also give toward this.
Thank you for all of your efforts.
Well, I'd love to have Mr. Murzio and Dr. Ward come on up and receive this check. And I would like to talk a little bit about the way this money is used. All of these donations, we shoot for 15% of the cost of the playgrounds, and that money offsets the community's local tax share, the burden for these projects. State aid offsets the rest of it. Okay, so Joel, thank you very, very much. Come on.
Can I get one with
Get up here.
Oh, yes.
Come on.
Oh, there
I'm sorry.
Hey,
All right. Thank you, everyone.
good question. What kind of fundraiser are you getting $10,000 to $15,000? That's not candy bars.
What's that?
I'm just wondering what fundraiser you're getting 10 to 15 grand. That's great.
Every year when you do the Gertrude Hawk, like springtime. The representative told me the last couple times I've done it, we're actually like top 3 in the nation for how well we do in fundraising for them. Profit, yeah, profit.
That's profit.
Yeah, our Sister Well community, the parents come out really well for every fundraiser we do or school event. It's a pretty good school and community, so we do pretty well.
I also have a quick question. This is probably going to be for you, Matt. Just out of curiosity, because I've never really have like gone through this before, the old equipment, does that get sold off, or is it just if some of it's usable or scrap metal? Just out of curiosity.
So the vast majority of our old equipment is very well used and it goes to the scrap pile. It's very expensive to relocate a playground, given the amount of concrete that goes underneath it to hold everything in place. Yep. Mr. Crabtree, I wasn't here. I don't know what to do.
Thank you, guys.
you.
All right, next I'd like to invite Donna Marie up. How are you? Either whichever you're more comfortable with. Push the button.
Have to push to talk?
Just, no, you don't have to hold, you don't have to hold it.
They can't hear you at home.
Okay, so 2 things to present tonight, very short on social studies, and then I'll jump into the longer one, which is school accountability. So just some overview of what we've been doing in social studies this year. They're new to me again, as of I think I had them, I think 8-10 years ago, and so now it's come back around again. So things that we're doing, continued work with eDoctrina, that's our storage place for all of our curricula documents. We'll be working on it. And social studies, especially at the high school level, way ahead of that curve. Currently, we're also working on middle school standards-based grading. We had a meeting today, as a matter of fact, in 5th grade. We'll have 6th grade tomorrow, and then I think it's 2 days and then 7th. And that's moving along. So we've identified some, essential standards, talking about like what we want the report card to look like. And then today we were diving a little deeper into help documents and training, things like that. So that's moving. As far as professional development goes, in the fall for the superintendent's conference day, we had Dr. Todd Mealy as a presenter. And I brought his book, not that anybody, has extra time to read, but if you ever wanted to, it's a really fascinating, was presenting to us on how to teach controversial topics in a way that is civil and in this, sort of election cycle and maybe cultural going on. It was very, very important for us to have that training. He was very well received. Wrote a book about the social experiment where the teacher separated the students by blue eyes and brown eyes. And almost every education major in the room has probably heard of this experiment at some point. So he was a really great speaker. We really enjoyed him. For the March Superintendent's Conference Day, I've already contacted AFT, and we have a teacher trainer in our midst, Mr. Kruger. And then they're also going to be sending some other trainers, and we're going to talk about class discussions and how to best way. We're also doing CKLA, which is our ELA program, and a crosswalk with social studies. And we find in the elementary school that the fit between CKLA and social studies is pretty good, K through 3, but not so good in grade 4. So we've developed some extra resources to make sure we're hitting the social studies standards in all grades K through 4. Have just begun a middle school textbook pilot. This year is our investigatory year, and I had a half day, unfortunately, the second day back from Christmas break, because that was the only time I could get a blackout calendar day. And we looked through 7 different publishers, and the teachers are distilling down to where we want to pilot for next year. And then in the high school, we're also, and the junior high, we're looking at electives and some dual credit courses. We have run into a little bit of trouble with OCC. They can be particular about what degree our teachers have and what they're allowed to teach for dual credit. So we might be making a shift and looking at Cayuga Community College because we think that they might be more amenable to that. The particular example is psychology. So most of our social studies teachers at the high school do not have psychology degrees. And OCC is requiring a psychology degree in order to credit psychology. I know it's silly, but that's their rules and I don't. Except I can go to Cayuga, so we're going to see how that works out. Okay. So any questions on social studies before? It's busy in social studies. Okay, we'll move into accountability. This is a separate presentation, so. Yes, this is the last. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So every year I come, I like to use the same template so that the board members get more familiar with it, but I know that we have new board members and new people that are here. So let me explain what accountability is about. This is our 3 through 8 testing and our regions testing, as well as attendance and other things. And this is based on the 23-24 school year. We're about to enter the testing cycle for this year, so hold on to your hats because it's going to be a fun ride. But why do we have it? It comes from the Every Student Succeeds Act, previously known as the No Child Left Behind Act. This became law back in 2015. It is how the New York State Education Department and the U.S. Department of Education hold schools accountable. Okay. So what it still does not include and what we are still waiting for them to bring back is growth scores. Growth scores compare how a same student is doing one year to the next. So 3rd grade to 4th grade, how much did they grow? And then we're also waiting on academic progress, which is towards a set goal. This went away post-COVID and it should be coming back. And then what is included, you missed one, go back one, please. Okay, there. Is CCCR. So that's college, career, and civic readiness. That's the advanced designation diplomas, AP, dual credit, all of those like upper level things. Those should be coming back soon too. Okay. What is included? So graduation rate is included. We do very well. Our graduation rate usually for the high school hovers around 91%. Our graduation rate for the district is slightly lower. I frequently get questions about why is one different than the other when we only have one high school. And the reason is we do have students that are in out-of-district programs, BOCES programs and things like that. And they typically don't graduate in 4 years. They take a little bit longer, so that can be slightly lower. ELP, that's our English language proficient students. So NICED is using that data. They consider it to be valid. Those students take a separate test called the NICED SLAP. Chronic absenteeism, we are still seeing chronic absenteeism numbers that are far higher than they were before the pandemic. I wish I knew why. And it remains high across the state, so it just continues to be. And then performance, which is split into 2 categories. If you can go to that. Thank you. So performance is really about how the kids score on the state tests. And we look at it 2 different ways. Weighted performance, that's about everyone who should be tested. So if a student refuses an exam, they are considered in the denominator. So you get kind of dinged on kids that don't take the test. But then they also created this core performance, which is only the kids that take the test. So you get a little bit more benefit with this newer program. Ed? So how does this work? In each of the categories, you are ranked 1 through 4. 4 is great. You want to be a 4. 1 is not so great. And how they do it is they stack your school, your grade level against all of the other schools and grade levels in New York State. So you're compared to everybody else. The lowest 10% scores in the 1, and then on 10 to 52, 50 to 75, 3, and 75 to 4. And I think the reason that they do this is so that there's always the same number of people that are on the list. TSI or CSI, if you are a TSI building, that means that you have a subgroup of students that is underperforming for 2 consecutive years, and that can be any of your ethnic subgroups. It can be your economically disadvantaged, your students that are free and reduced lunch. It could be your special ed students. There's other categories. CSI means that your all student category is underperforming for 2 years in a row. It's going to be anything you want to be TSI. You don't want to be CSI. So how did we do? I'm going to show you school by school. Go ahead. First, I'm going to give you the district. So overall, and it's broken down into elementary, middle, and then secondary, our core performance, we scored a 2 in elementary and a 3 in secondary. You don't need me to read this to you, but that stayed the same from the year prior. Where we changed, I put things in parentheses so that you could see if we went up. So our English language learners have increased. We've done better. So we went from a level 2 up to a level 3, and 3 is great. So that's very encouraging. And our ELL numbers keep rising. So I think that's a great sign. Chronic absenteeism, again, we hover at the 2 to 3 range. We're back down into the 2s for both the elementary, middle, and the secondary. Grad rate obviously doesn't apply. And for secondary, we scored in the 2s. All right, so let's look at each of the buildings. Allen Road, you can see the numbers. They don't have an ENL population, so that's not applicable here. But the chronic absenteeism, they're doing really good at Allen Road. They went from a 3, which is good, to great. They got chronic absenteeism last year, so that's great to see. Bear Road, you know, it's funny, and I told the Bear Road principal this. Other principals are asking me what Bear Road is doing because her student performance on the state test was really high this year, or 23-24. So, you know, we're hoping that that shows through this year, but that building did great. And for each of these buildings, I'm going into the building and I'm talking about the specific tests and I'm looking at the subgroups with them and I present to the full faculty. So I tell them how they're doing, where their strengths are. I even break it down by standards so they know that kids did really well in this and maybe not so great on that. You know, trying to give them a little bit of a focus. The results came out pretty early this year, so I was able to get into the buildings in the fall. It used to be the results didn't come out until right before the test, and then what are you going to do because you're right there? But this year we had some time. Cicero L. Went up in core performance from a 2 to a 3. Chronic absenteeism is a 4. This is a very strong building. So Lakeshore, core was a 2, weighted was a 2, no ENL, and the chronic absenteeism went down a little bit from a 4 to a 3, but 3 still good. Roxelle, we've got a little bit of work to do here. So the core is at a 1, the weighted was at a 2. It was a 1 last year, so it did go up. Hopefully we'll continue to see that climb in testing realm. And then the chronic absenteeism also went up. It was a 2 last year and went to a 3. You know, and I've said this on TV when I've been interviewed as well. We can't teach them. Seeing some of these chronic absenteeism categories go up is a great thing. Fifth Road, core 2, weighted 2, no ELP, and chronic absenteeism is a 3. Nothing changed from the year prior. Gillette, another strong showing, core 3, weighted 3, chronic absenteeism went down a little bit. Again, you know, in that 3-4 range, you're still very good. Fox Middle 2, 2, and 2, no change from the previous year. Your high, core went up. 2 to 3, weighted went up, 2 to 3, and chronic absenteeism is a 3. If Connie was here, she'd really love these numbers, you know, to be able to see those 3 across. CNS, you know, CNS has been a reward school, so they've been in the highest 10% of the state. I don't know yet what they are, but they've done very well. Core is a 4, weighted is a 4. Graduation rate, like I said, is a 2. I think coming out of COVID, there were a lot of exemptions for the Regents exams, and there were kids that were getting diplomas across the state that wouldn't maybe have gotten diplomas before. And chronic absenteeism is a 3. And for a high school, that's good to see. So what does it mean? I believe this is the last slide. We are waiting for those designations. The state will tell us what buildings are TSI, CSI, or not at the end of this month. So once those come out formally, they would be embargoed right now, then we would be able to tell everybody. Any questions on that?
About the junior high. Has a lot to do with our math director and also our superintendent, Dan Bowles, because students that weren't taking that test, they were taking, not the state test, they were taking,
The regents instead?
yeah. And Dan Bowles said, no, they're going to take it, and obviously it helped. So thanks to Nick, and also Mr. Bowles, if you're home, watch it.
Good. Yeah, probably not.
Any other questions?
Quick one. I know OCC can be difficult and it's not a bad idea to think about Cayuga, but I know for Spanish and French, we go through SUNY Oswego. Is that an option or are you
That's
just?
definitely an option. Yeah. I'll go anywhere we can to get the dual credit. Yeah. Great. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you so much. All right, Jamie and Nick.
Good evening. So today we are talking about AIS, Academic Intervention Services, and to give you guys a sense of why two of us are standing up here. Jamie oversees academic or AIS at the K-4 level, both math and ELA, and I oversee AIS at the 512 level, both math and ELA. And you might ask, why is the math director overseeing math and ELA at the 512 and vice versa for Jamie? It really makes sense because we have some teachers who actually teach both math and AIS in these buildings. And because it becomes one department, the AIS department in those buildings, it makes sense for one director to oversee those entities. So just so you know, we work very closely together. So when she's looking at math curriculums, I'm involved. When I'm looking at ELA curriculums, she's involved. So it's not like they're totally separate, but just so you know why it would look like that I would be doing some ELA and she would be doing some math. Next slide. So every year, actually every 2 years, the state requires us to kind of define AIS. AIS is part of Part 100.2, which is the general education rights and services for students in New York State. And so AIS is not something that is specific to only a certain group of kids. It is available for all students. And that's an important piece. Sometimes it gets asked, can special ed students receive AIS services? And they absolutely can and are supposed to if they qualify for those services. So the statement, the definition here is AIS is intended to assist students who are at risk of not achieving New York State learning standards or who are at risk of not gaining the knowledge and skills needed to meet or exceed designated performance levels on New York State assessments. Next slide.
So some of you may have heard the three-tier model MTSS. MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. This AIS falls directly into this. There are 3 tiers when it comes to MTSS. We have Tier 1, which is the core instructional program. That's the curriculum we're instituting in our elementary, middle, and high schools. And what is figured is about 80% of the students they'll get it. And they'll be able to perform on grade level standards. Then for some students who may be struggling, we have Tier 2. It's support on grade level standards. These are typically done either in WIN time in the elementary schedule, or it can be done during AIS time. They're small group settings with about 4 to 6 students in each of the groups so that the AIS teacher and the students can really work on those on those skills that they're lacking in a small group setting where students feel comfortable. We do progress monitoring at the elementary level. We're doing it, if not once a week, we're doing it every other week to be able to see where our students are falling and what they actually need some additional help on. We use our research-based interventions, and we typically have students in these AIS groups for between 9 to 30 weeks. We want to give them some substantial time in there to see the progress that they're making. We then have tier 3. These are the students that they're not on grade level for reading or math. They're really missing some foundational skills. So those small group settings, we have between 2 and 4 students in there. So it's really a small setting for our students to be able to work on being able to achieve at the grade level standard. And again, we do progress monitoring every week, if not every other week. We have our research-based interventions, which we'll talk about. And again, the duration is 9 to 30 weeks. We want to give the students a chance, and there may be some students who they don't test out at the end of the school year. We're going to pop them back in and we're going to keep working on those foundational skills if we need to. So our selection of students, Nick and I will each talk about our respective grade levels. For K-7, we use the Ames Web Screener. We administer the Ames Web Screener 3 times a year at the beginning of the school year, right about now. We just started today, actually, and then at the end of the school year. So we use those data points to be able to identify which students qualify for tier 2 or tier 3 supports. We also like to have an additional data point. We don't want that to be their only screener. So we have different benchmark assessments for math or CKLA. We have do the math placement tests. We have really great reading screeners. We have a Hegarty screeners, and we also use the New York State assessments as a data point if we need to, depending on where they fell for the 3 through 8 testing. We also have this group called the school support team. This is where teachers, if they're struggling with a student and they're noticing some issues with reading or math or behavioral issues, they can take this student to the group in the school, which consists of special area teachers, AIS teachers, school psychs, the building principals, and they can sort of debrief the student and they can talk about different strategies that the teacher should try in their classroom to help support the student either academically or behaviorally. For AIS, we can also determine in that meeting that maybe we need to try to give this student a little extra help when in the classroom's not working, they might need a little extra help. So let's try to pop them in AIS to give them a little more help in reading or math.
You'll notice the first 2 bullets for both K-7 students and 8-12 students talk about a universal screener. And just this year, this is actually the first year that we have taken our Ames Web universal screener all the way up into high school as well. We had only been stopping that at 8th grade. Ames Web came out with a high school adaptive test, which meant all of us became adaptive versus a static test where everyone has the same questions. Now you're given a question based on how you perform on the previous question. And that is giving us some data also at the 8-12 level. We used to use the RI, which is the reading inventory, and now we're using Ames Web. We've also moved math in Ames Web up through 9th grade. But that test gives us a point. It gives us a percentile, gives us a score that we can use to think about if a student really does have some gaps. But one of the main things that we are selecting students for AIS at the 8-12 level, and really probably we're thinking more at the 9 or 10-12 level, is Regents exam failure. If you'll notice, the AIS definition talks about whether they are performing at standard level on New York State assessments. And so when our students at the 10-12 level fail a Regents exam, they are immediately put into an AIS class the following year. And that class is targeted to help students pass the Regents exam. We know that those Regents exams currently are gatekeepers towards graduation, and therefore it's really important that we provide them the supports to do that. So that's what the AIS classes at the 10-12 level look like. Next slide. Yes, Paul. Yeah, you can.
Silly question maybe, but are those at the 10-12 level, are those taught by certified teachers?
Great question. Yes,
That
they
were
are.
in the next slide, the Regents prep is what you use.
So they are taught by the core content teachers who are certified in that content. And so what we do is we determine how many AIS classes that we need, and that's actually part of the scheduling process when you schedule math or ELA, you determine the number of AIS classes needed, and they are taught by the certified teacher. We also, one of the questions that I got asked actually before I came up here was around the universal screener, and we have specific percentage values that we identify and say, this determines a tier 3 student, this determines a tier 2 student. And at this point in time, we're hitting those standards the way that we want to. We think that there is some gaps around the selection of students with probably at the younger levels, because we really believe that we need to get students before they start falling behind and really provide the support that is needed. We provide support at the 3rd and 4th grade level in math, but not as much at the 1st and 2nd grade level. And so we really need to start thinking about that. And I would say also in reading, we know that if a student gets past 2nd grade without being able to read, they're going to be behind, and it's going to be a real struggle to get them caught up. And so trying to find ways to service as many kids as possible when we start realizing the gaps at a younger level. And that's probably our greatest challenge right now in ensuring that we are servicing all of our students for AIS that need it.
And at the elementary level, we do have instructional TAs that are able to help with our tier 2 students that are struggling. We've been able to shift some resources as well. I know at the beginning of the school year, you heard that we weren't able to service all of our students. We were able to shift around some staffing so that we were able to pick up some more students in another building. It does continue to be something that we're going to be working on and looking at those numbers. We're making sure that there's consistency with the numbers that we're pulling, so that that at the district office level, we're pulling the same number of students that they're pulling at the elementary level to identify which students need the tier 2 and tier 3 support.
So this is just a list of our curriculum resources that we use it really is the K-12 level, because you see Regents Prep there for 10-12. But all of the other resources are specifically used at both elementary and middle school to help support our students filling those gaps. Now, this is a little bit unique in that at the lower levels, you're really targeting gaps that exist in students' unfinished learning. So our students have some unfinished learning. We're trying to recognize those gaps, and we're trying to then plug those gaps. As you get a little bit farther along, students have developed coping mechanisms to be successful. They developed tools to be successful. And so you start to shift that focus from filling gaps to actually recognizing, okay, this student has already developed the coping mechanisms to be successful. Let's lean into that and support them with content level or grade level content so that they're successful. And that's really what you would think about in terms of the 10-12, and even kind of, I'd probably slide that down to like 8-12 level, where we're not going back to 1st and 2nd grade and trying to teach them some foundational reading concepts. They've developed the coping mechanisms to make it to 8th grade. So how do we support them with the content that they're now moving forward with? Just to kind of give you an idea. And these are just some of the curriculum resources. We are doing a pilot right now with a program called Bridges in Math at the K-4 level that's actually going really successfully. Jamie and I got a chance to see it at Cicero L recently, and it was done really well, and the teachers are really enjoying it. At that level, we only had one resource, which was do the math. And sometimes when you have one resource, when that resource is not effective, a teacher is like, well, then what? What do I do? So to have a second resource at a level is really, really helpful.
So this slide just details how are we making sure the students are moving forward, they're progressing. How do we review the data and how do we support our staff? So at the K-7 level, like I had mentioned before, we're progress monitoring either every week or every other week. Our AIS teachers are really focused on that. At the 8-12 level, it's once a month. Again, like Nick said, a lot of the 9-12 AIS support 10, 12 AIS support, that's for Regents prep. We've got to get the kids through the test so that we can graduate them. Our data meetings, our AIS team has worked really, really hard to establish consistency among all of our elementary groups with the data that they're discussing at their data meetings. The data meetings, we hold them 3 times a year and they take place right after Ames Web testing. So we've already had 1 round of data meetings. We have our 2nd round of data meetings on the half day at the end of the month. And then the final round is in June. So what they're taking a look at is they're taking a look at the teachers' specific grade level data in comparison to the building at that grade level and in comparison to the district. So what are some things that they could do better on? They're having those conversations. How can the AIS teachers support the teachers in what they're doing in the classroom? What are some strategies they can use? But those data meetings they're really eye-opening for our staff to be able to see their data in comparison to everyone else across the district. Then we hold congruency meetings. These are conversations where we specifically discuss students. So teachers will go in, they'll have a one-on-one meeting with the AIS teachers, and the AIS teachers will typically have conversations about specific ways, specific strategies that teachers can use right inside the classroom to help support students who are not making the progress that we are hoping for. So that's at the K-4 level. At the 5-9 level, the AIS teachers are meeting together to sort of collaborate together on how they can best support the students. Some things that they talk about as well are the strategies. They talk about identifying areas of needs for the students. They discuss intervention and programs available that they may not have a lot of experience with. They discuss progress monitoring, share scaffolding resources and interventions, and they discuss challenges and supports. Our AIS teachers are really supportive of things that they could be doing, or things that they could be helping our classroom teachers with, because they know our classroom teachers, they've got, 20, 24 kids in their classes. And then finally, all of our AIS teachers, they're all involved in PLC meetings. We call them collaborative team meetings at the building level. But all of our AIS teachers push into these grade level teams to support the teachers in those grade levels with anything that they may need. And like I said before, they're also a part of the SST committee where they're discussing, again, specific students and ways that we can help support them.
I ask, so the AIS teachers are part of the SS?
Yep.
So you got 3 times a year for the data meetings, 2 times a year for the congruence meetings. How often are the PLCs?
Once a week.
Once a week? I'm assuming the data and the congruence or the PLC people are involved in the
Yes.
previous 2.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. What's nice about that is we're using real-time data to discuss the kids that are sitting right in front of us. And it's quick data. So like I said, we started Ames Web testing today. We're Ames Web testing for the next 2 weeks in ELA and math, and we're having a data meeting on the 28th, 29th, whatever the half day is. On the 28th, I think it is. All the elementaries are doing it on that day.
So this final slide talks about the difference between the Ames Web Plus screener and New York State data. I showed a picture of the triangle that a lot of times during a BPT presentation, you guys might see some of those triangles showing, seeing terms like grow the green, or we've seen some growth in ELA and math. And then you might see something like Donna Marie just shared and said, okay, the New York State data is saying this, the Ames Web data is saying this. How do I kind of resolve both of those 2 data points in my mind? Ames Web Plus is a norm-based screener. So what that means is that your score is based against everyone else that also took it. So you're receiving a percentile rank, and that percentile rank determines, based on 100 different percents, where you would fall in that. The New York State level is a standard-based screener or a mastery level. And so what we think about that is New York State determines what that mastery level is at the 3rd through 8 testing, and then you compete or you take a test against that mastery level wherever they set that bar. And I say that very kind of candidly because when New York State transitioned from the CCLS standards, the Common Core Learning Standards, to the Next Gen standards, on average in Central New York, math scores rose 10%. Everyone, though, rose 10% on average. So all they did was take that cut line and move it or shift it. And so I think that it's important to recognize New York State determines a standard line or a mastery line, and we compete against that. It's comparison against a standard. It's one snapshot a year in grades 3 through 8, and it is at a state level versus AimsWeb, which is a nationally normed screener taken with other students across the nation in other states as well. It's also given multiple times a year, and so students get a little bit more familiar. They recognize this test, they recognize this assessment. By the time that a kid gets into, 3rd and 4th grade, they've only seen a New York State test once or twice. They've seen an AimsWeb test like 12 times. So it does make a little bit of a difference, and kind of gives you a sense of the real difference between what a norm-based screener is in AimsWeb versus a standards-based or mastery level-based test for the New York State test. I think that's all we have. Is there any question? Are there any questions that you guys have for us?
A quick question.
Yeah.
So the screener for high school now, I know like all the kids are taking ELA, but some of the upperclassmen are not taking math. So are you testing everybody or just the kids taking math? Or am I reading that wrong?
Oh, so we test everyone, 100% of students up through 9th grade.
Okay.
And we don't actually run any of our students in 10th, 11th, and 12th through the math screener.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would you be testing? Is it just completely based on the Regents exam of whether or not somebody needs AIS at that point? Okay.
Yes.
I think you did say that earlier. I just got
Sorry.
a little bit
No,
confused.
it's good.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into our comments from the audience section. We have no speakers this evening, but as always, we welcome and encourage input from the public. Board of Education Committee reports. Mr. Crabtree? Everyone policy manual that is due.
What just happened?
I have to apologize. I talk loud enough, you know that, but at home.
Right.
All right, Legislative Committee met on January 8th, which was Wednesday, another very good meeting. We are also, Al Sturpey was there, but also Senator Mannion is now having a representative there. We want to thank Matt Irwin, who did a phenomenal job along with Don Keegan on all of the capital projects basically that we've had, but also to speak to the problem that we have where we need increased aid for capital projects. As Matt and Don both said, buildings are crumbling. Most of our buildings were built in the 50s and early 60s, and they need work. And therefore, the governor needs to know that we need to have funding for those projects. So thank you for it. It was an awesome presentation. Also, we talked about building aid. Don talked about that. That needs to be looked at. Things to remind my fellow board members is that on February 7th, from 8:30 in the morning to 12:45 is the New York School Boards Association Capital Conference. Please tell Jill tonight or soon so that you can register. You must register for this. It's an excellent conference in that you get to speak with the commissioner, you get to speak with the Senate and Assembly members that represent us in the education world, and also New York School Board Association, the type of things that they're asking us to support. And then finally, as Paul knows, we get to hear from the governor's people. Interesting. All right. Also, you just got word from Jill on the legislative breakfast. I know Mike loves the food there. The Central New York School Board Association is on February 8th, and you'll be invited, Dr. Ward, to that. But again, you need to register with Jill so that they know at BOCES how many people are going. I know Paul, so good at this, is going to go to Albany and meet with some of our legislators. But what I have talked to the committee about, and you weren't there, is that with a new superintendent, we need to have some committee members from the legislative committee make personal visits to each one of our legislators in this area. So we're going to wait till the governor gives her wonderful state of state address, which Xavier will be sitting in that audience on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And then the governor will do at the end of January, early part of February, she breaks it down. So when we know that, then we can start going to visit our legislators. I am very pleased. What's come out so far is, I got to hold on to the table for this one. As Don knows, I have worked very hard, so did Xavier, that we would get free lunches and breakfasts for our students. And she is now supporting every child in New York State will get a free lunch and free breakfast. Thank you, Governor, if you come through with it. And so that's it. Our next meeting is in February.
Thank you. Superintendent comments, Dr. Ward.
Hello, everyone. I just want to, first of all, thank everyone for their warm welcome and everything over the past day 6, by the way. I'm on day 6. So I've made it this far. But really, it's been great to meet such wonderful people in the district. And I do want to thank the administrative team here at the table for helping me figure last week out and beginning of this week. So it wasn't quiet. We had a snow day in there and some other things that went on. So I appreciate all the help and support. I've been to 2 different buildings with a staff meetings. I plan on meeting with each building staff between now and March 3rd. That's how long it took to schedule them to come out. I did meet with the district office staff today. That was nice to see everyone doing a little get to know you activity that the board might be familiar with throughout my process. So, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that I was able to attend last week. One was the opening of the new gym at CNS High School. It looks great, great work there. It was great, and also our boys won that evening. But it was also nice to see our girls lacrosse team get their rings, state championship rings. I think that was really cool. So, I'm I'm going to keep it just short and sweet. So if anyone else has any suggestions or things, I'm always open. My door is always open to suggestions. And I am going to get to CNS High School. Maybe you can give me a tour sometime soon. But I just thank everyone. So thank you.
Board of Ed comments. Josh?
Yep. Well, since it's January again, the state of the state is tomorrow. So just reminding everybody, once the budget comes out, in the case in which we are disappointed with the governor's proposal, make sure that you are reaching out to all of our legislators and the governor's office. And I will make the same exact comment for the next 8 board meetings until the budget gets passed.
Just a couple things that I would like, that I noticed. Garrett Arnold is on our boys bowling team, bowled a 300. Now, I don't know if any of you are bowlers, but 300 means 12 straight strikes. I never got close with it with my backup ball, but I got 240 once. But what a wonderful thing happened. I see 2 other boys just got it from another school district, but Garrett was the first this year. That's phenomenal. Then I'm going to embarrass a couple of people at this table. Ryan Leahy Jr., junior at CNS, and son of somebody at this table, was CNS All Central New York volleyball star. And that is an honor because you are in the top 10 to 15 volleyball players in all of Central New York. So Ryan Leahy, congratulations. And then across from me, Grace DeGrew.
Sophie.
Sophie, sorry. Oh, boy, did I goof that up. I goofed that up. Grace was the theater person. But Sophie, and it was just in the paper, Central New York, all-star swimming and diving, and she is one of the best divers in Central New York. So congratulations to Sophie, okay? I just wanted to, Donna Marie has left, but Donna Marie Norton sent a letter that she received, and the board did not see it, but it was from a gentleman from the Christmas Bureau. The Christmas Bureau was right before our Christmas holiday, and we had 40 to 50 students from CNS go to the Christmas Bureau. They got to take over 2,000 families are in line. You have to see this. They're lined all the way down the street to get free food and gifts for their children. And our students took some of the students around, the families, and get gifts. And I had to tell one student, it's not what you want for the kid. One of our students tried to do that, try to pick out gifts for that he liked. But Donna Marie got a letter saying that this gentleman didn't know what club or whatever, but they wore purple shirts and they were from CNS High School, worked in the food line. And, you know, they put milk, some kids put milk in, and they took the food out to the people's cars or whatever. And they were done. And then somebody came back and said, we need 10 more boxes. 20 more boxes. We need 30. The kids stayed there until everybody got food that needed it. To me, as from the high school, you should be very proud of your coworkers. I just think that is outstanding. And now one thing I'm going to do now, and I did it the other night because it's very personal to me. No poor, rural, weak, or Black person should ever have to bear the additional burden of being deprived of the opportunity of an education, a job, or simple justice. Our commitment to human rights must be absolute, our laws fair, our national beauty preserved, the powerful must not persecute the weak, and human dignity must be enhanced. Those are the words of former President Jimmy Carter, who is one of my heroes. Not so much maybe in the White House, though. He did begin the Department of Education, and we can thank him for beginning with the federal grants and so forth. But my class here at Pitcher Hill in 1976, when most of you were young, wrote to Mr. Carter as a candidate and also to President Gerald Ford. And when President Carter won, my class was invited to the inauguration. And I have the invitation at home that was given, the program that was given to everybody at the inauguration. He was a wonderful man who did a lot for this country, but he stood up for everybody. No matter if you're black, white, rich, poor, he stood up for everyone. So I just wanted to say my feelings tonight. Thank you.
Azariah.
Hello. So the first thing I wanted to say was obviously welcome the new superintendent. I wanted to say that I was also once new in this district, and I think it'll be very easy to be accustomed to everything because of how accommodating the faculty are, along with how accomplished and how I feel like our students are always achieving new things. And to talk about some student affairs and achievements on this Friday and Saturday at the junior high school, there's going to be 3 showings of SpongeBob the Musical. And if you want to purchase tickets, you can go to our district website. And I wanted to also mention next week on Thursday, there's going to be a skate-a-thon, $4 for scholars in North Syracuse, which is pretty much an organization that raises money for scholarships for students in the North Syracuse area. And I actually am collecting donations for it. If you have cash on you, I have a pledge right here and I also have some envelopes. I have some envelopes to, keep your donations safe. So after the meeting, if you want to come up to me, I'm taking donations. And next I wanted to talk about the high school principal's cabinet, which I'm a part of. There's a subcommittee for community building, and very soon we're going to be doing some raffle baskets to fundraise for our food pantry, and I'm going to have some additional information about that. So next week, or a few weeks, check your emails. And I wanted to also just lastly say good luck to all the students taking Regents exams and midterms this next week. Personally, I don't have any, but there's many students who, will be graduating this month as well. So I just want to say good luck to everyone and thank you.
All right, some routine action items. Can I have a motion to consider the approval of the minutes of December 16th? Josh? Amanda? All those in favor? I'd like to place B, C, and D together, the consideration of the classification of school placement of students. Do I have a motion to place those before us? Paul and Josh? Any favor? And declaration of marketable and non-marketable surplus. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Amanda and Josh, any questions? All those in favor? Discussion action items. We have a recommended board action to acknowledge the final property tax reconciliation from the tax collectors from the towns of Cicero, Clay, and Salina. Do I have a motion to acknowledge? Josh and Matt, any questions? The next several items will be adding some positions. So we have a resolution to create a 1.0 FTE teaching assistant at Smith Road Elementary School. Do I have a motion to place that? Matt and Paul, any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, because we have a number of these coming up, and I think that all of them are absolutely justified. Are we going to just make sure that we're providing the administrators and current staff just support as far as we're getting a lot of new folks into the building and making sure that there's like enough space and everybody is able to kind of fit into the classrooms that are already existing in the buildings? No, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I figured you did, but I just wanted to make sure that that was in there.
That's before us, all in favor. That is unanimous. Next, we have a resolution to create. I do see. Resolution to create a 1.0 FTE special education teacher position at Smith Road Elementary. Josh and Paul, any questions? Favor? Resolution to create a 1.0 FTE occupational therapist position that will be split between Smith Road, Cicero, and Roxborough Road Elementary Schools. Do I have a motion to place that? Amanda and Paul, any questions? All those in favor? Resolution to create a 1.0 FTE teaching assistant at CNS High School. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Matt and Josh, any questions? Those in favor? Resolution to create a 0.4 FTE E&L teacher position at Gillette Road Middle School. Do I have a motion to? Josh? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Amanda? Comment?
Board to be aware, because you're gonna see a lot more of these. That OCM BOCES, which I am part of the school board, no longer has got room to take many of our students that need to be at OCM BOCES. Okay, I want everybody to know that we have programs at Crown Road, we have programs Thompson Road, we have programs in Cortland. The lack of teachers, lack of teaching assistants, we have job fairs, there's one coming up. There are students, I believe, that are in our schools that are difficult to work with. And I know the teaching are going through a difficult time. And I just want the board to be aware of that. Since COVID, things are not good. And when I mean behaviors, I mean dangerous behaviors. And I am concerned about it. I know we have to provide the best program for each of these students, but the support, as Josh said, for teachers needs to be there. Every single minute, every single day for these teachers. It's not an easy process. I know as a former teacher, I would have very difficult having some of these students in my classroom. When we're seeing students are coming that can't breathe, they can't talk. I mean, they breathe, they can't talk, or they can't, you have to feed them. These are the kinds of students that we're getting now. So I want you to be aware that BOCES doesn't have the room. We don't have the staff to take. I just want the board and the community to realize. Thank you.
All those in favor? Resolution to enter into Article 5 General Municipal Law Intermunicipal Agreement with Rick 1. Motion to place this before us. Matt, second from Josh. Any questions or comments? Rick 1 service is something that many school districts, including BOCES, use. All those in favor? Acknowledgement of an anonymous gift to the school district. Do I have a motion to accept with gratitude the gift? Anonymous. So Josh and Amanda, all those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. An amendment to the appointment of the district clerk. This is just, it's an annual change, right? Don, yeah. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Paul, second from Josh. Any questions or comments? That is unanimous. Thank you. And to amend the appointment of our claims auditor, same situation. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Josh? Paul, any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is. And an amendment to the appointment of the central treasurer for activity funds. Do I need to have a motion for that? Josh and Matt, any questions or comments? All those. And a resolution to enter into a 5-year service contract with OCM BOCES for RIC services technology leases. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Amanda and Josh, any comments or questions? All right, all those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And the recommendation to approve the separation agreement between an employee and the North Syracuse Central School District. Do I have a motion to place that before us? Paul and Josh, Any comments or questions? All those in favor? We need an executive, go ahead. Do we need an executive session before we take personnel items? Do I have a motion to approve personnel report A as submitted? Paul and Amanda, any questions? Those in favor? That is unanimous. Do I have a motion to approve support staff personnel report B as submitted? Josh and Paul, any comments or questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous. And administrative personnel report C, do I have a motion to approve that as submitted? Josh? Matt, any comments or questions? All those in favor? That's unanimous. And now at this time, I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of reviewing one negotiation matter with no action to follow, two legal matters with no action to follow, two personnel matters with no action to follow, and one parental appeal with action to follow. Do I have a second? Amanda, any comments or questions? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Tomorrow, there's a birthday. His name is Josh Ludden. Have something here, Josh, and we have cupcakes for you.
What is he, 12, 13?
I don't know. He's got a.
I'm sorry. Oh, there you go. Parents are all dead, so that tells them.